Good afternoon, everybody. In February 2023, the appointment of the commissioners marked the commencement of a vital journey across Canada. Over the course of 2.5 months, the commissioners embarked on a series of 3-day hearings held in 8 different cities across this great nation. Throughout these hearings, a remarkable tapestry of voices emerged as the commissioners had the privilege of listening to approximately 300 witnesses. These witnesses who came forward with courage and conviction included everyday Canadians whose lives were profoundly impacted by the actions taken during the pandemic by our government. Among these witnesses were brave mothers and fathers, devoted grandparents, caring brothers and sisters, loving husbands and wives, and cherished sons and daughters. Their diverse perspective offered a rich mosaic of experiences that they have shaped the narrative of our investigation. In addition to these courageous individuals, we had the privilege of hearing from world-renowned experts spanning a multitude of fields. Their insights and expertise have further enriched our understanding of the complex challenges we faced as a nation during these trying times. It is worth noting that our hearings did not include testimony from any government agency involved with implementing the pandemic measures. Non-judicial subpoenas were sent out to 63 members of government, regulators, and authorities, and none agreed to attend and testify. For the past 4 months since the conclusion of the live hearings, the commissioners have diligently worked to distill this wealth of testimony into a comprehensive investigative report. This report not only presents the testimony in its raw and unfiltered form, but also offers specific recommendations born from insights shared by Canadians from coast to coast. Today, we stand before you ready to share a portion of our findings that are most pertinent to the current events affecting our nation and the world. Our commitment to transparency and accountability remains steadfast, and we believe it is crucial to bring forth this information to the public's attention. In recent weeks, our world has witnessed a series of significant developments that have reshaped the landscape of our ongoing battle against the COVID-19 pandemic measures. The commissioners overseeing our comprehensive investigation have carefully considered the implications of these events, and we deemed it imperative to release a portion of our overall investigative report, a section that is particularly relevant to the current state of affairs in Canada and the world. Just days ago, the FDA in the United States took a critical step by granting approval to new COVID-19 vaccines, raising eyebrows due to the apparent absence of completed clinical testing. What's striking is that this new vaccine seemed to have gained approval primarily on the strength of prior authorizations granted for COVID-19 vaccines. In tandem, the CDC swiftly followed suit, endorsing the use of these new vaccines for individuals as young as 6 months of age. These decisions have ignited discussions and prompted questions about the robustness of the regulatory process, particularly in the face of the evolving landscape of the pandemic. Furthermore, Health Canada has also recently greenlit a new COVID-19 vaccine produced by Moderna, and it seems that this approval followed a similar path as those in the United States. Interestingly, Moderna has also announced the construction of a new mRNA vaccine production facility in Montreal, and it is reported that they expect to produce 100 million doses of mRNA vaccine in 2024. In conjunction with these developments, Dr. Theresa Tam, Canada's Chief Public Health Officer, held a press conference where she and her staff were seen wearing masks, rekindling discussion about public masking. These developments, combined with the considerable evidence presented to our commission, had led us to believe that it is the utmost importance to inform the public about the original authorization process for the existing COVID-19 vaccines. The government's reliance on the same authorization process for the new vaccine underscores the critical need for transparency and clarity regarding how these decisions were initially made. The release of this portion of our investigative report seeks to shed light on the approval process and provide insights into the concerns and recommendations arising from our comprehensive examination. In these times of uncertainty and rapid changes, it is essential for the public to have a clear understanding of the basis upon which medical interventions are authorized, and for regulatory agencies to maintain the highest standards of safety and efficacy. We look forward to discussing these pressing issues and providing clarity on the authorization process for COVID-19 vaccines. This information was presented in this release highlights concerns about the process through which these vaccines were granted approval and raises important questions about the safety and efficacy of these vaccines. This is a matter of great public interest, and it demands our attention. The traditional process for approving new drugs in Canada is outlined in Division 8 of Canada's Food and Drug Regulations, and it demands rigorous evidence of both safety and efficacy. It follows a sequence where safety is established first, followed by efficacy, and then a risk-benefit analysis. This process is fundamental to ensuring that Canadians are not exposed to unknown risks when it comes to medical interventions. However, what we have learned is that the Canadian government did not adhere to this conventional evaluation and endorsement process when authorizing COVID-19 vaccines. Instead, a new process was established where Health Canada authorized these vaccines under an interim order, which later became a permanent regulation. Under this alternative authorization process, the necessity to objectively establish the safety and efficacy of COVID-19 vaccines appears to have been set aside. The significance of this cannot be overstated. Objectively and independently proving the safety and efficacy of a new drug before its introduction into the market is a cornerstone of responsible healthcare and public safety. It is crucial to instill trust among healthcare professionals and the public, and to ensure that medical interventions are based on the most accurate and reliable information available. In the context of a global health crisis, these principles are vital to ensuring that public health measures are not only effective, but also respectful of individuals' rights and dignity. This stringent approach becomes even more important when a drug is intended for widespread use across all segments of the population, including children and pregnant women. The authorization of COVID-19 vaccines in Canada followed the interim order, which required a subjective assessment of whether the benefits outweighed the risks, with the consideration of the, quote, urgent public health need, end quote. This subjective approach, rather than the objective proof, has raised concerns about the rigorousness of the authorization process. It is essential to note that the authorization of COVID-19 vaccines under this subjective test essentially guaranteed their approval, given the high stakes involved and the pressure to secure vaccines for Canadians. This situation created a potential conflict of interest as the government, which had purchased and imported these vaccines, also had the responsibility for authorizing them. Furthermore, the interim order prevented the Minister of Health from revoking authorization, even if evidence emerged suggesting that the vaccines were unsafe or ineffective. This lack of flexibility raised additional concerns about the protection of the public. The timing of the interim order, just ahead of the vaccine authorization application, also raises questions about whether pharmaceutical companies knew in advance what the authorization requirements would be. Additionally, testimony highlighted potential conflict of interest and biases within the teams responsible for conducting and reporting the trial data submitted to Health Canada, raising concerns about the transparency and objectivity of the testing process. In conclusion, this information underscores the need for a thorough investigation into the authorization process for COVID-19 vaccines in Canada. This is imperative to ensure that safety, efficacy, and transparency are not compromised when making decisions that impact public health. We have made the following recommendations. 1. Rescind the newly implemented revisions to the Food and Drug Regulations related to COVID-19 vaccine authorization, as they permanently exempt these vaccines from the requirements to objectively prove safety and efficacy. 2. Immediately halt the current use of COVID-19 vaccines in Canada that were authorized under the revised provisions of the interim order and the newly revised Food and Drug Regulations. 3. Conduct a full judicial investigation into the authorization process of COVID-19 vaccinations in Canada, with the possibility of addressing any criminal liability that might be found. 4. Make all documentation concerning the authorization process and information provided to regulatory agencies by the manufacturers publicly available. These recommendations are critical to restoring public trust in the vaccine authorization process and ensuring the safety and well-being of all Canadians. Thank you, Michelle.